So good morning everyone, welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. Silence. Quieting down all thoughts, needs, impressions. Remaining with attention fixed, still holding on to the source. Untouched, unbothered, indifferent to all surroundings. What is called outer surroundings and inner surroundings. Preferences, desires, aspirations. All noise, all noise. So let's begin by clarifying these opening words. When I speak about silence, and then we do a little bit of silence, there's this idea that these words are kind of, I'm guiding the meditation or something like that. But actually, I'm using this moment to give you a glimpse of what silence is, the different meanings of silence, the mindset that you need to establish there, not just in this moment prior to satsang, but 24/7. This is what I'm giving, this image of what silence is, how to remain in it, what does it mean in practical terms. It's not guided meditation. Of course, I'm giving these words at the beginning so that you may actually remain silent, be silent. But it is a mindset, a vision of a mindset that you need to cultivate. And its deeper aspects. I will answer your question now. Dear Sriman, I want to talk to you about a doubt. I'm prompted to meditate while chanting Om and doubt arises. Why am I meditating? And no answer really arises, but always push to continue. The doubt remains unanswered. The chanting Om brings the vibration, and I know at the beginning why I'm meditating, but this doubt arises, a cold doubt. Why am I drawn to meditating with a feeling of emptiness? A lot of doubt arises. Well, it is very simple to explain. This is very simple. And this is why many of you who listen to me when I refer to Advaitic teachings, non-dualistic teachings, in some way you must think, or some of you must think that I'm against it or something like that. And that's not really the case. It's absolutely the other way around. But there is something which is a seeker of truth / disciple, and someone that has an inclination, a natural curiosity, a student of philosophy. These are two separate things. In the case of the seeker of truth, he starts working, which is close, and he starts growing step by step, step by step. And the path is supposed to become alive. So, for the seeker of truth, it is about the moment that he is in. As a whole, not just in parts. And this evolves. So when he is ready, these non-dualistic teachings start to make a lot of sense, but it unfolds naturally. But as a philosophical teaching, which is taken by students, those who have a curiosity, an inclination, but lack the aspects of the disciple, of the seeker of truth, which is surrender. The basics is surrender, humility, and the most distinct characteristic is this desire for freedom, this unbearable desire for freedom. This is the mark of a seeker of truth. So when things are pushed, everything has advantages and disadvantages. But these non-dualistic teachings, if they are taken by the student or by the yet-to-be seeker or by a seeker of truth, but prematurely, he is beginning by the end, and this will complicate a lot. So you're getting these teachings and you are seeing. Even this seeing is difficult, but not that difficult because, well, many of you have a lot of experiences and a lot of moments, big moments, even, how do you call this, these merging moments with the absolute, or so you say it is. But compared to the experiences of the seeker of truth, that's very little. For you, it may be a lot, but it isn't. But if you don't know anything else, it will be a lot. And by diving in these teachings, at least at the mental level, these reflections, all of this, a logic starts building up. And it starts making sense, like all logics do. Those you had previous to that one, they made sense also. Then they are dropped and another one comes. But the problem with this logic is that it will become an obstacle. You cannot be at the level of those teachings, and that is clear. That is clear. But then it becomes an obstacle to those practices that can help you to elevate yourself at that level. If those teachings to help you elevate at that level had come before these non-dualistic teachings, what would happen would be they would go nicely, and when they reach their point, then they will stop making sense and something else would come. By the maturity of practice and theory together, practice leads the way. But in those teachings, those non-dualistic teachings, majority of seekers, mental studying, logic is maturing. Only logic is maturing. The rest remains undeveloped at the same way that it was seen. So it is a vision. These are non-dualistic teachings, but the vision of these teachings are, let's say, using yogic terms, tamasic vision of these teachings. So logic becomes an obstacle for you even to reach it, because it's not really an obstacle. Let us make this clear. But for you to elevate at that level by the sheer force of the mind only, for 99.99%, it's impossible. For you it would be like bursting into flames, spontaneous combustion. It would be too much. So it is unreachable. And the other practices that could help you, like meditation, mantras, and all of that, becomes pointless because logic has matured beyond that. So you get stuck in a vacuum. You cannot leave that place. It will take you much longer than it would if you use the instruments that are more closer to your level of understanding, real understanding, not just mental understanding, what you can live up to. And this has created a barrier. I've seen this again and again. It is a big, big barrier. The one who is upholding these teachings, non-dualistic, he must have developed an inner strength above, very above normal. Cannot be impressed by normal things. He is not fighting for normal comforts, normal aspirations, and the majority of you are. But it becomes an obstacle because understanding has evolved. It's the only thing more or less that has evolved, just mental understanding. And it becomes a big obstacle because, yes, I've understood. Even with the little experiences I had, I understood. So who is meditating? What is the point of meditation? The cold doubt arises, and it hinders spiritual progress. Something that could be faster becomes slower. So it becomes very difficult to transcend that. This is why it is important to establish yourself in a living process. What does this mean? To pick up whatever practices you have. This is too general, not general, yes. To pick up a meditation technique, or if it isn't a non-technique of meditation, where just abstract instead of concentrating, it doesn't matter. And intensify that practice. Intensify it with the purpose of finding guidance. But instead of choosing guidance, because there's this vision, guidance is here to assist me and to direct me here and there, and that's not the case. Guidance is there to break your obstacles, to break your beliefs, to break your illusion. So you may desire, instead of a master in the physical body, you want the directions of the whole of the source. Yes, because you're magnificent also. But ask for guidance, work for guidance, and learn to see what is coming. And what is coming, it's not about interpreting the teachings and trying to put them in place. Yes, it is a little bit of that. But what has to begin first is surrender. Because if you're analyzing the teachings, no surrender. And it doesn't matter if you're having guidance, you're still alone. Surrender comes first. Let me explain. If you're listening to the teachings, evaluating, are these good teachings or bad teachings? And okay, I think it's good teaching, so I will practice. You will not be able to practice for a long time. You will not. As obstacles start arising, especially with that mentality, You will give up because, well, it's impossible. You cannot take it further. And for those who have this mindset already at the level of non-dualistic teachings, it will be even more difficult. Impossible, even. And whatever they are able to do is because they are agreeing, so there's no guidance there. It is still their decision. And that is not surrender. And surrender comes first for a living process. And the point of surrender is taking you out of the equation. Because you're the obstacle. Ultimately, you're the obstacle. And if everything is seen through logic, through study, through the mind of a student, it will not bear the fruits that it can. It will bear something, some fruits, but not the fruits. And guidance, if it comes, it will test you. So if you're testing guidance, you'll be tested and you'll fall down. If you're not testing, if you're trying to surrender, you will have a chance. It's not easy. It takes time, that surrender. But it starts from moment zero. And it is guidance that guides you through what you really need, not what you think you need. And if you have this logic and you want some, no, this should be the right way, guidance will point you the opposite way. It's not about if it is the best teaching or the worst teaching, but it is about taking you out of the equation, giving you an opportunity to work on surrender. Everything has a logic. There are millions of logics. You just need to understand it. But in this case, you may understand it only after it has passed. So that cold doubt that you are talking about, it is the fruit of being exposed to something that you're not really ready for. But it doesn't matter if you're coming in contact with spirituality at this moment or if it has passed 40 years already. There is the student, the one that comes through a curiosity, and there is the seeker of truth who comes from a desire for liberation, an intense desire for liberation that it doesn't give rest. But only when this desire is there, and only when guidance comes, that it really starts. And it starts from where you're really standing, not from where you think you're standing. And those who have this tamasic vision of non-dualistic teachings, because that's what they can experience, they will always have the cold doubt will hunt them like a ghost. And either you trust guidance or you trust your mind, your doubts and whatever. The seeker of truth is like a scientist. He tests things on the field. But I've seen this again and again. Seekers receiving guidance, these type of seekers, but the doubt is too much. It's not because they lack the good intentions. No, they have good intentions. It's not the thing. But they have built things that are difficult to let go. So at the mental level, it's like they are advanced seekers, but in the whole, they are beginners. And that word beginners is complicated because they are tamasic in nature at their stage of spirituality. Beginners with advanced techniques, with a beginner's view of an advanced technique, and that becomes an obstacle. Of course, because the first part you build something that then you destroy completely. So what's the point of building if I'm going to destroy? There's nothing there. Why should I build it? For example. But this goes even deeper than that. And those type of doubts can only be overcome by surrender. Surrender to guidance, by being in a living process. Or the long road. Because that is supposed to be the end of the road. And you're starting by the end. So you will finish at the beginning. But at that level of understanding, theoretically, if you can go back a little bit, you can overcome that big distance. If you're a seeker of truth, of course. If that desire for liberation is there. If you can honor and surrender to guidance. You can use that maturity at your favor and not against you, but that surrender will have to be there. Because without it, it will be impossible. Logic will not allow it. You will not have the willpower because of that to pursue, to continue. And that doubt will increase and increase and increase until it devours all your vitality, all the capacity you have to engage in spiritual practices. And I have seen this again and again. Young people, old people, it is the same. And the more time it passes, the worse. I've seen seekers that after showing them their own picture. They were able to see what they had been really doing, what was their real level. I'm telling them, now it's time to go to kindergarten. Impossible. Impossible. Theoretically, possible. Practical terms, actual cases, haven't seen it yet. This is general terms. I'm using this question to answer to this because you're not at that extreme level. But for that doubt stop growing and disappear, you need to understand that every spiritual practice in some form, it is taking you out of the equation. And guidance appears to be giving you a direction, but its real benefit, it's giving you the opportunity to surrender, to abdicate of your beliefs, of your ideas, opinions, and all of that, what you consider to be yours. Surrender is the short path. But surrender to who? Only I exist, no one else exists, blah, blah, blah. Logic. But for those who have that desire for liberation, anything is possible. Difficult, seemingly impossible, it doesn't matter, but it will still be possible. But you will have to understand the name of the game. And if you haven't worked enough in terms of humility, you won't be able to do it. Because it's like, well, you're in college, now go back to kindergarten. You can see it as demerit or merit, depending on what is more important. To be seen as the most competent seeker, the most advanced one, or freedom, or to be free. So for that doubt, specifically, either you know that you're being guided and you're surrendering to guidance, or that doubt will continue and increase and intensify. I will answer your question now. Can you please tell something about how can I have some control over my mind and overcome the lack of seriousness? It seems like a simple question, doesn't it? So it is important for you to see, what do you call lack of control? What does that mean? Because sometimes what you're looking for, it's not really what you need. But what does that mean? And lack of seriousness. Well, I will take it in the context of the quest for truth, of course, or else I wouldn't answer it. Well, what is this lack of seriousness? You're not being able to intensify your spiritual efforts. So where are you spending your time? In which direction are you using your time? You have to understand, to see, to observe your world, to observe yourself, or what you call yourself, in these interactions, investments. How is your time being used? In which direction? To what purpose? Does it goes against your spiritual practices? Because are you sitting idle, doing nothing? Or are you using your time into different goals? Probably this one. And by the way that you're using your time, how much time am I using in my spiritual practices? Is it constant? Is it not? What is constant in my life? What are the investments that are constant? Seeking security, relationships. What is there which is constant? So observing is very important. The lack of seriousness, what does this mean? Is it because you're not being able to maintain a spiritual practice? Well, either you have the calling or you don't. If it is a calling, then you need to overcome these resistances, and you can only overcome it by practice. You will have to set your mind in strong standards. You will set up a practice, and whatever is set up, you will have to accomplish it. It doesn't matter what happens. If you're feeling good, if you're feeling bad, if the sun is shining, if it is raining, if you are healthy or sick, it doesn't matter. And you will deal with the resistances as you work through your practice. They will be there and you'll be countering them, doing your practice. It doesn't matter if you cannot reach any higher states or whatever. As you go through your own resistances, you will start firming, solidifying a habit, a practice, which is cleansing all those resistances, all those things. Control over one's mind means emptying the minds of all those. It starts with fears, passions, possessions, not possession, attachments, all those things, hates, jealousies, all those things have to be purged. Purged by meditation, intense meditation, and cutting the outer sources that you use to feed these habits. The more the mind gets clean, the more it gets stable. This is why I told you, you will have to see what this means about control, because many people have different ideas about control. They want to control something without understanding what it is, what that means. But in this context, for freedom, it is about emptying. And to remind you, if the desire for freedom is there, either you respect it and you get those benefits, or you don't. So what does lack of seriousness means. This would have to be better understood. So if you want to complement your question, it will make it easier for you to understand, because then I can go directly to the point. Resistances are there in everybody. It doesn't matter which philosophy you're more tuned to, more prone to. Whenever spiritual practice starts to threaten, just threatening you, of taking you out of the equation, resistance will arise. Because body-mind complex is designed to protect itself, to protect its own world, its own illusion. It will fight for it. So this is, for example, an example of how non-dualistic teachings are being used, is to protect the same illusion, not to break it. Like anything else, any teaching can be used like this. And it is used like this, and it's very difficult to go beyond this, because you're convinced that you're not. So whenever it becomes serious and it threatens to take you out of the equation, you will fight it. The body-mind complex will fight it. So you will fight it and the body-mind complex will fight it. What does this mean? It means that even though you may intellectually know that you're not the body-mind, at the rest of the levels you identify completely with it. And it is very important to know this. Because if you know this, you can do something about it. If you don't know, well, you'll just be played again and again. So whenever it starts to become serious, all resistances will arise. Subtle resistances, for example, like, okay, so it's time for meditation. Oh, today I'm not feeling very pleased. There's something more interesting to there. I will just check this, then tomorrow I will continue. I will do the meditation. You're agreeing with this. It's not something that you're bashing against. It is subtle. But if you don't go with all these subtle things, oh, this, no, it is time for practice. Just an example. Because practice is 24/7, but just an example. Then those resistances will come in a strong way. Sometimes even feeling sick, wanting to throw up, diarrhea or whatever. Something that really justifies to stop. But for experiencing this, you really have to be serious. And this will continue if it works. If it doesn't work, then you will deal with these resistance directly, innerly. And logic, mind just makes a living hell in there, a lot of noise, and I don't want this, and blah, 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 all negativity is arising. And this is good. You just continue firmly on the practice. All this garbage will arise and then go. Again and again, again and again, again and again. Then something else starts. And in these are very important. They are preparing you for silence, for deeper silence. And it is working on something which is very important. It is testing your determination, giving an opportunity for you to increase your determination. But if you're just going with the moods, it will not threaten the character. I'm feeling good, so yes, I will practice. Not feeling good, I will not practice. And if I practice, I'm just, I don't like it, blah, blah, blah. if you're not using the time to see the resistances, take identification from them and focusing on the practice. If you're just going with the moods, the necessary fire, the life of the process will not begin. It is like a fire that is continuously burning. And without it, there's nothing. Nothing much. In this nothing much enters a lot of experiences that you have, a lot of things that you think it is, ooh, but this is, well, I must be at that level. And it's nothing. When the quest begins, if it is serious, resistances will arise. So in the beginning, in yoga they say, choose a meditation practice that the mind likes to practice, or else it won't. But this logic doesn't apply always, just in the beginning. Why? To establish the habit. This is the goal, to establish the habit. Then, if you have intensified enough, well, some sort of guidance will come. And this is how you proceed. And eventually, as you become more mature, it's not what's about what you like. It will be more the other way around. And this is a training that you can and should bring to yourself. Practice is 24/7, and every moment offers an opportunity for you to go against your likes and dislikes, to let go what you like, embrace what you dislike, to use everything in your favor to take the character out of the equation, replacing it with divine love, with surrender. Every moment is an opportunity to use or to waste also. Because understand, emptiness, void, absence of any constructs, so knowledge must be only a means. And then if it is absence of mental constructs, not even that remains. So that for sure is not the main thing. Okay. So next satsang will be Saturday. 9 a.m. Brazilian time, UTC -3. Until then, make the best use of your time. Or don't. It's your time. Okay, watch.